Texas Attorney General wanted to bring to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has issued remarks in the manner saying that they will reject that lawsuit. This is ending an attempt by, remember, those 19 states' attorneys general led by the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton to essentially overturn the results of the 2020 election in these 4 states that they took issue with and how they dealt with their election. Remember, states decide how they administer their own elections. Those states were Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Michigan. But right now, this is breaking. We're getting this just in that the Supreme Court has rejected that Texas lawsuit in a 7-2 decision. We're working on finding what we do know, the 2 justices who did not reject, who voted in favor of it. That was Justice Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas. Just want to point out that the president's 3 appointees, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett, were in the majority in rejecting this lawsuit. Justice Alito and Justice Thomas dissented. I just want to pull up the order in the pending case for you right here. We have this, I believe. And here is the written matter from the Supreme Court. I'm going to put this up on screen here. And it reads as follows: Friday, December 11, 2020, the state of Texas's motion for leave to file a bill of complaint is denied for lack of standing under Article 3 of the Constitution. Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the matter in which another state conducts its elections. All other pending motions are dismissed as moot. Here's the statement from Alito and Thomas, who are joining, and they say, in my view, we do not have discretion to deny the filing of a bill of complaint in a case that falls within our original jurisdiction. I would therefore grant the motion to file the bill of complaint, but would not grant other relief, and I express no view on any other issue. So, this is something we have been waiting for all week. You'll remember that this was started by the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, joined by 17, 18, I believe, other states, other Republican attorneys general. It was signed on in an amicus brief yesterday by 126 House Republicans, of which we learned today Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, was one of them, who essentially endorsed this suit. But now we are learning that the Supreme Court has rejected that. This was a long shot in the eyes of many legal scholars, both conservative and liberal legal scholars and constitutional scholars. And we're learning that how the justices came down on this in a 7-2 decision, 7 in the majority, 2 against. And those 2 are Justices Alito and Clarence Thomas. You'll remember that the president was really touting this, tweeting about this as kind of a last-ditch effort to do something about his electoral loss. Remember, a lot of these states put into place new voting mechanisms via mail, absentee ballots, what have you, because of the coronavirus pandemic. And what essentially this lawsuit was alleging was that those measures put in place for how votes were administered and cast was unconstitutional. The Supreme Court not going to take it. They disagreed with that in that 7-2 ruling just being handed down a couple minutes ago on this Friday night. We're going to go back to this scene of the White House here. We're waiting for reaction from the president. I can imagine we will be getting that momentarily. And we will bring that to you. We will be getting responses to you. We are looking on social media just to see if any big names have responded. But as of right now, the president and his allies were really banking on this getting to the Supreme Court, at least the highest court, to make some type of determination. But that is now moot because a lot of these legal challenges have been dismissed outright by lower courts, lower state courts, what have you. And to be honest, never before had any state really asked the highest court to do what Texas has proposed, which essentially was to nullify election results from other states. And just to point out the irony in this too was because a lot of these House Republicans that signed on to this amicus brief yesterday, basically supporting this lawsuit going forward, we're essentially saying that if they are a House member from one of these states that just got elected about a month ago, they were on the same ballot as the president, that would essentially overturn the results of their own elections down ballot. So that was kind of the irony there that we were following. But for those of you who are just joining us, the U.S. Supreme Court says it will not consider a lawsuit filed by Texas and its Attorney General, Ken Paxton, that sought to overturn Biden's victory in those 4 battleground states, of which were Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Georgia. Remember, all 50 states and the District of Columbia have already certified their results. Monday, the 14th, in state legislatures around the country, electors will be meeting to vote on whoever won which state. So this is quite something, because a lot of people, a lot of the conservative allies of the president, a lot of conservative media allies of the president were, in the president's corner, really touting this lawsuit. But 7 justices denied for lack of standing. And I just want to make the distinction here that even though Justices Alito and Thomas were dissenting from the majority, they said that they would grant the motion for the petition to move forward, but that they would initially and essentially deny relief if that was the case. So Thomas and Alito said, yes, the petition could go forward, but if it did go forward, that they would have denied injunctive relief. But we just want to point out that this is what I'll be looking for. In the majority, in that 7-member majority, 3 Trump-appointed justices, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett, essentially voted against this from what the president wanted. We'll be seeing if the president tweets about that. He essentially takes no prisoners when someone wrongs him, whether they be a member of his own party or a former administration official or a judge that he appointed himself, or nominated himself. So we'll be seeing if the president has any reaction to that. We're going to just take it on this shot of the White House here. We're awaiting reaction from more people. And just to break this down, at a constitutional level, you remember we are we operate under a federalist system in which states can't tell other states how to administer their elections. And so this statement from Justice Alito and Thomas, which I just put on the screen and read to you, is reiterating this objection that they both have to how the court handles lawsuits between states. So it's not really specific to this dispute, but they have this longstanding objection. Remember, as I said, I'm reiterating myself, but states have the power to conduct their own elections at how they see fit. And that's what these states did with regard to the pandemic. Remember, Pennsylvania allowed for mail-in ballots to be counted 3 days after Election Day. A lot of these states that were defendants in this suit, some of them could not start counting ballots until Election Day, even though absentee ballots were pouring in well before that. So we'll be waiting for any response, any reaction from the president-elect, from President Trump, from congressional leaders. Especially, I'll be looking out for these House Republicans who signed on to this amicus brief in their response to essentially what has transpired. So, for those of you who are just tuning in to NewsNOW from Fox, we are getting this breaking news about 20 minutes or so ago that the U.S. Supreme Court has rejected that Texas lawsuit that sought to overturn the results of the election in those 4 states, which would essentially have overturned the results of the election in favor of Joe Biden. Remember, Joe Biden won those 4 states, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and President Trump won those states back in 2016, if you'll remember correctly. So we're going to just keep it on the White House here as we get more reaction. Daytona Everett is going to come up in just a few minutes or so. And we're going to have a live update from the Biden-Harris transition. Our reporter who follows that, Fox's Ali Rafa, to see if there's any reaction from their side. But we're going to scour and peruse social media and Twitter just to see if there's been any more reaction. It remains to be seen what more legal recourses the president and his legal team have. Many of his allies and administration officials have been waiting for this moment, for this to be taken up by the Supreme Court in some matter. This was kind of the only chance of that happening. And we're learning that that is not going to happen. And I just want to read this for you again. They have dismissed, or excuse me, the complaint is denied for lack of standing under Article 3. Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections. So we'll be following this story throughout the evening here on this Friday night, but breaking news is happening here on NewsNOW from Fox. We're glad that we could be covering it for you as it happens, and we're going to take a quick commercial break before we have that live report from Fox's Ali Rafa from the Biden-Harris transition to see how they're responding to this latest news a little more than a month after November 3rd, the election. So I'm Andrew Kraft. I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's about almost 5 p.m. here in Phoenix, Arizona. We'll see you back here in 2 minutes.
You're watching News Now from Fox. I'm Daytona Everett, obviously cutting into some of this breaking news that is going on right now. Like Andrew told you, we've been following this Texas lawsuit all week, and we've been awaiting this news right here. The U.S. Supreme Court has officially rejected this lawsuit to overturn the election. We have not heard yet from President Trump yet. We are awaiting a response from Biden and his team, which I'm sure we will get here pretty soon. But to talk about other things and